You are listening to the DOL Pod, brought to you by the Office of Digital and Online Learning at Howard University.
Greetings, listeners, and welcome to DOL Pod. I am excited to be your host for this episode. I am Dr. Morris Thomas, the Assistant Provost for Digital and Online Learning, as well as the Director of the Center for Excellence in Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, CETLA, here at Howard University. I also hold faculty appointments. I am an associate professor in the Department of Educational Policy and Leadership Studies in the School of Education here, and also a lecturer in the School of Business. And so I'm so excited to be here on our podcast. We are actually celebrating and highlighting National Distance Learning Week here at Howard University. Our theme for National Distance Learning Week this year is a focus on the intersections of AI and online learning. We're more readily talking about generative AI, and today we have two very special guests. One is here from Howard University and another from Deauville University, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. And we're going to discuss learning design and AI. So before we get started, I will first turn it to our Director of Learning Design and Quality Assurance, Ms. Tamasa Nelson.
Thank you. My name is Tamasa Nelson. I am the Director of Learning Design and Quality Assurance for the Office of Digital and Online Learning. My role here is to partner with online program staffs and departments to support their growth and development of their online programs.
And then we have Dr. Humberto Hernandez, who is the Director of Online Learning and Instructional Design at Deauville University. Welcome. Tell us about your role, yourself, and your university. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Thomas and Ms. Nelson. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for this invitation. And I'm Humberto Hernandez. I'm the Director for Online Learning and Instructional Design at Deauville University. My role encompasses basically supervising the online operations of the organization here at Deauville University. That encompasses everything from admissions, marketing, advising, instructional design, teaching innovation. So in all of those departments, if you will, there are, different things that I do, if you will. Primarily speaking, I also work closely with our instructional design team that also does a lot of teaching innovation work. So my work really focuses a lot, working very closely with faculty members to ensure that, we are designing courses that make our students, that online students that are from all over the country, successful. And as you all can imagine, that brings all different challenges, right, into our plates, right? So how do we make sure that all the students, are accommodated, and how do we ensure that they succeed in the classes? So especially utilizing pedagogical approaches, and technological approaches to help them succeed. I also teach, you're right, I also teach here at the institution in the School of Business and the School of Pharmacy. And I also teach for Southern New Hampshire University as in the International Business Department. So I also adjunct there. I work very closely with, the business department there. And so I also teach there.
Awesome. So your disciplines are also in business. And what was your other area?
Pharmacy.
And pharmacy.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how you got to give me your academic background. And this is important. So anyone wondering, like, why is he asking him all of these questions? I think it's important for faculty and educators and even students out there to understand that those of us who are in the learning design work and the online work do come from various disciplinary backgrounds, and it helps us to understand not only the development and the administration of this work, but also we are actually educators as well. And so we know firsthand how to also deliver and disseminate and facilitate these courses. So that's why I'm asking, and that's why we raise all of these things, not just to talk about our accolades and credentials, but I think it really lends itself. And one other thing I'll mention to this, and panelists and guests, if you feel like adding to this, is many times we are questioned about the relevancy of this particular work, this particular modality to specific disciplines.
Mm.
And I have a multidisciplinary background, I can tell you that I have not found any evidence empirically or scientifically that says that any disciplines are isolated from these modalities being working for learning and learning facilitation. So,
Yeah. Happy to do that. Yeah, happy to do that. So I have various degrees, one in international business, one in marketing. I also have a graduate business degree in business leadership, and another degree that I'm about to complete in education and leadership. So and I have different certifications, from project management to data analytics to I'm actually a coder. I do code in different languages. So I'm accessibility specialist too. So I'm a certified accessibility specialist too. I have a whole different certification. So if I go on, I don't I prefer not to go on. But yeah, all of this really intersected at some point in my career where I actually first started as an international business trainer. That was actually my first job back in the Mexican embassy. So I was working as a corporate trainer there, and basically that's how the backbone in corporate world, especially for learning and development, is learning theories, right? Corporate, learning theories around the science of learning. So that was the backbone for everything, and utilizing a lot of those learning sciences is how you realize that there are a lot of intersections in terms of the work that you do for instructional design or teaching innovation, right? Or in any other fields, right? In online learning, right? How do you ensure that? I mean, with all of these, online learning has been growing, significantly for the last 30 years, but in specifically, the boom that really propelled, in this case, online learning was how are we intersecting learning management systems with, all of these user experience, learning theories, and all of these different disciplines that are all merging, and accessibility and universal design and all of this to ensure that the students are actually learning online, right? And then we get into correspondence education, we got into what is distance education, all of these different things, but their backbone remained the same, right? Which is learning sciences. So right, it's basically exactly how as humans we learn, right? So that didn't change. So all of this to say that because I came with that, if you will, or my first job really exposed me to those learning sciences. I basically continue with that path and holding different positions here and there is what got me to, in this case, working as the director of online learning and instructional design. And that's how the different business acumens and marketing and, to lead in online learning, you have to know about business, you have to know about marketing, especially digital marketing, you have to know about instructional design, you have to know about learning sciences, you have to know about technology. So it's all of these intersections that built to know about project management, data analytics, all these different things, right? That built into into what it is to be, now this realm of online learning, right? Overall, and its intersections with AI and all what is happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. I agree and concur, and have delved into some of those areas as well, being a project manager, and so and then having a business background as well. So I definitely concur, and that's great to see there's some commonalities. I do want to highlight one other thing. So you are, if I remember correctly, you're originally from Colombia, correct?
That is correct.
So okay, so the international business. So you also have the actual international experience firsthand. And also, you add to, in addition with everything else, being at least bilingual. I don't know if you know more than two languages, but at least bilingual. So that all adds a very rich background. So I'm happy to know that that's kind of going to possibly guide some of the things that you add to the conversation. And it gives that breadth and that depth of your insight. So that's very great to have you here on the panel. So I'm going to switch to Ms. Nelson for a moment. And here at Howard University, Ms. Nelson, you lead a unit within our Office of Digital and Online Learning called our Learning Design and Quality Assurance Unit. Can you talk about what that is in just very layman terms for those who are not necessarily in this sphere or field of working, and what it is, and then why it's needed?
So, learning design and quality assurance, it is essentially two components. As Dr. Hernandez discussed earlier, learning design in itself is stemming from the learning sciences, and there's a lot of different areas that intersect learning design. As previously mentioned, project management, instructional design, user experience, hence our learning experience design name. And then we also have the quality assurance on the other hand to basically make sure that we are in compliance and that we are creating a well-rounded experience, quality learning, online learning experience for our students. So essentially, the overall goal for us for our office is to create a collaborative, comprehensive approach to learning design and quality assurance, and we do that by creating, evaluating, and continuously improving the quality of the online student learning experience.
That is awesome. And I love that you mentioned and highlighted so many great points, but I love that you talked about continuous improvement. And this process is not one that is necessarily we've we've done it, it's over, but we want to continuously look at improving. And then I'll ask the soon-to-be Dr. Hernandez to also, if he wants to weigh in on this, but also talk about in the continuous improvement aspect, maybe what kind of process you all have at DUville University and how you all are leveraging AI in your processes.
Yeah. I guess we have to look at this from different fronts. Right, there is we call it like online operations data, right? When we talk with faculty members, we tell them, there are different ways in which we're looking at data, right? We're looking at your courses efficacy from different points of views. From yes, student satisfaction surveys, right? We want to hear exactly how our students are experiencing your class. But also looking at, from the instructional design, and from through all of our rubrics, through all of our processes, how are we, in this case, realizing that the course may have or one or two or three or four different areas of opportunity, again following the different rubrics that we have in place. And we're also looking at basically the faculty feedback, right? Like as they are delivering the class, they're noticing that there may be, again, one more time, areas of opportunity in the class that, it's a specific, for example, one assignment didn't go very well, or they realized that there were areas of opportunity to improve X or Y. So all of those data points we gather, and something that we have actually done for our online PharmD program is to run all of those different qualitative and, at some extent, also quantitative data from the student results on how they did in the class. We have populated some of that data into ChatGPT or in another GPT models, and we have asked draw some conclusions, on these out of this data that help us improve the class, and cross-reference it to these rubrics that we follow in instructional design. We here at DuVille University follow the Quality Matters, rubric, if you will, and framework overall. And there are instances where we have noticed that some of the student feedback relate to, hey, there should be, or it would be very beneficial if the class would have all their instructional materials that would help me learn better, right? Like more paced instructional materials, or more learning activities that will help me prepare to complete the assessments, etc. So we basically, again, just populate all the qualitative and quantitative data. We prompt we create a very comprehensive prompt that would help us, again, cross-reference all of that feedback, quantitative and qualitative, to that rubric. And that's how we present these to faculty members when we do the redesign of the classes, to ensure that we are, again, using all this data to inform our designs and inform the way that we are ensuring quality, and more importantly, the improvement, right? The improvement of the class through these, in this case, in this, just kind of keeping in mind all of the data that we are keeping tabs very closely to ensure, again, just success of the class and efficiency of it.
Thank you. And Ms. Nelson, what about you? Are you leveraging AI at all in your work? Yeah, go ahead and let us know if you're leveraging AI in your work and some ways you know that AI can help or assist or enhance the online quality design.
I'm sure. So we are exploring different AI tools. One area is to streamline workflows and also to enhance our productivity. As we are looking more towards content creation, we are looking at AI tools that actually help with, suggesting and, you know, the development of graphics or the development of editing formatting content. So some of the tools that we are using have actual AI assistants, and so we are exploring those, as well as different ways that you can incorporate AI into the courses. Right now we are exploring the use of AI avatars as pedagogical agents in our own internal class, our own LDQA course. And so just looking at the possibilities of what we can do to integrate AI and create, a quality online experience.
I can add that I have helped as far as, I think AI when it comes to online learning or any modality, but we're talking about online, really can help with efficiency. So they're basically generative AI are large language models. And so I was able to upload in a particular generative AI tool the information on the learning objectives according to Bloom's. So upload Bloom's and its information, and then I was able to upload some learning objectives for a particular faculty member that were not quite written in measurable Bloom's terms, and ask them to do a revision of those into measurable verbs. And I was able to put them out very quickly. Could I have done that manually? Absolutely. But it made it much faster. The thing I do want to highlight is while I was able to take the input, take the prompt that was needed. I think that we talked about prompts earlier, and then give me what I needed. I still needed to use my human element to verify that that AI had done it correctly. So for those who might be fearful of AI erasing us, there is a collaborative tool, in my opinion, that's used correctly. No different from some of the more traditional older AI tools that we've been using, such as spell check, such as transcription, and things of that nature. There's a need to still check. There's a need to collaborate and work with it. So when we think about collaboration and working with AI, what are some trends that you all think either that you know that are on the horizon or you all have used or that you see coming down the pike, so to speak, as it pertains to learning design and AI integration?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share if you would like something that um, I keep reading and just listening to podcasts, but also reading a lot of even recent. I would not call it like latest AI research, because there is a lot of that that's still to be fast checked. And while there is some empirical research now on this, none of those are thoroughly, there is a lot more need for research on this. I was going to say specifically the AI driven, personalized learning movement that is happening right now. I guess really having the opportunity to host a 24/7 readily available AI tutoring service in your LMS could really set the bar at the highest extent, at the highest level possible for any student, right, that needs anything related to the course. And I guess I want to share here and something that we did here and we're piloting here at DuVal University is our chatbot that is called Ask Maggie. So basically, we have two San Bernards that are our mascot, our university mascots. One of them is called Saint, and another one is called Maggie. Many reasons why they're called like that, but it's basically, Saint is basically, that's our mascot. Saint Marguerite Duval was the one that actually founded the university. That's why we call it. One is called Saint, and Marguerite Duval. Then we call the other one Maggie. Anyway, so this to say that we created our own in-house GPT model that is called Ask Maggie. And basically, Ask Maggie is a 24/7 tutoring service that is fully trained on all of the course content in that is basically uploaded in Canvas. So there is no opportunities for the GPT model to hallucinate because it is really not connected to the internet, and it's also only trained on the documents that the faculty member uploaded. And I'm talking about videos that the faculty member created. I'm talking about PowerPoint presentations. I'm talking about articles, textbook readings. I'm talking about, assignments, syllabi, etc. Right? So something that this tool has allowed us to do is to say to students, well, if you're starting at midnight and you have a question about a slide 9 about oxygenation in nursing and you don't understand X concept, you don't need to email the professor and you don't need to struggle on your own. You can just go to Ask Maggie and ask, hey, I am going through this presentation. It's a slide 7. There is this concept that I don't understand. Help me. And something interesting that we have noticed is that we are able to track the log of the chats. The model that we created, basically, you are able to assign it a role so that it basically helps the students retain the information. So we were intentional in creating a learning, adding learning science behind this, right? Retrieval practices, dual coding principles, all of these elaboration principles, all of these that is based on learning science to ensure that the AI tool does not just give them the answer right away, but it helps them walk through the process of learning. Right? Okay, so for example, it asks like, hey, I have a question about this oxygenation term. So one of the ways that the AI model will respond is, okay, do you recall reading or learning about palpations or something? I don't know anything about nursing, I should say, so that's not one of my strengths, but he would ask questions so that a student's like, no, but I remember this. So basically it walks the student through the process of retrieval analysis so that, again, it helps the student learn, right? As opposed to just give them the answer right away. And just imagine, how students are using, we're able to scale that, right? Right now, we just are piloting this exactly for 32 different courses out of the hundreds of courses that, take place here at the institution. So imagine that we have the opportunity to tell to all the students, like, you have a AI tutoring service that is fully trained on your course content. You have any questions you may have, you can just go here and ask it. Of course, it will not give you the answers for your exam automatically, because that, of course, we will put guardrails around, the chatbot. But again, is really helping the students. It really is. It tailors to students in the individual learning needs, preferences, pace, right? And ultimately, what it's doing is really analyzing the student data to really adjust the content, the assessments, and the feedback that it gives to really optimize the learning of the students and the learning outcomes for them. And I guess that's something that I could see onto the future that could be a learning design aspect that could, in this case, complement student outcomes. And again, help the students' progression, student retention, etc. So that's something that we have been doing here at UO.
I love that you're using innovation and also putting the AI technology and tool in a context that takes away some of the anxiety. You mentioned hallucinations, and for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what hallucination is in the context of AI, it just simply means that AI tools do have the propensity just to make things up, and we call it hallucinations. So that means that they will make up citations, make up information, they will expand or exaggerate on things without any actual data or true information on the information. So you say you all are basically putting some barriers around that, which I would imagine also gets at privacy and things of that nature. I just think that's great that you all are being innovative and taking the whole. And so my call to action for anyone listening is to think about ways to leverage this technology and put it in parameters using such things as you were mentioning, code, data, existing tools like an LMS that makes it safe and also helpful for learning environments and for the learning experience. I think that's awesome. That sounds very innovative and amazing. Would love to learn more about that and see how your pilot goes. So we will have to have you back to talk about that with
Happy to
our
share.
audience. So, Ms. Nelson, what about you? Any particular trends or things that you believe that are coming down the pike, so to speak, when it comes to integrating or using AI and learning design in the online sphere?
Well, first, I would like to say that is really awesome, the work that you all are doing, Dr. Hernandez. That is one of the, I think, premier areas of where we could see AI fully being utilized inside of the um, inside of an online course. And then some of the other areas, just from a learning experience design perspective, is the tools that we're able to adopt and use, more so coming from designing. For example, being able to use video tools that, if you can't get to a studio on film, there's generative AI that can, help to create those videos, even in voice recordings, being able to use AI tools to help with, whether it's a podcast or, you want to leave an audio recording for students and vice versa. And then there's also like some of the more um, tools that are geared towards design, that are incorporating the generative AI capacities, that is helping to facilitate that process a little bit easier and better for designers so that they can focus on other tasks. In another area that I see AI playing a role is integrated in our learning activities and assignments. You have GPT models now that you can design and incorporate into your assignments that can communicate with students and based on the information that you provided them. So I think that there's just the opportunities are limitless for what we can do with leveraging this technology.
Those are some great examples. I was aware about generative AI being able to take voices and do recordings and do things for you. I had not thought about trying to leverage that as an instructor, even for student standpoint to use it. So I want to make this our last question, but I certainly am sure there's a lot of listeners potentially, and I know that this has been something just kind of floating around AI is academic integrity, the fear of increased academic misconduct, and the misuse, not necessarily the use, but I think most people are afraid of the misuse of AI. What are some ways that AI and learning design combined can address some of these fears or anxiety around increased cheating, academic misconduct, and things of that nature. So I am, yes, asking how can AI help to solve, AI coupled with learning design, help to solve for that concern?
I think I can go. I can perhaps share something that happened to us this past month. So you know how we use Examsoft, right? Examsoft is one of those assessment tools that a lot of different schools utilize for to proctor students, all the different things. Well, we learned about the trick, if you will, the students use to decrypt the exams so that students can get the answers of the exam before they even take the exam. So, well, in this case, we realized that when students, and in this case, we used AI to do the reverse engineering or the counterintelligence work to catch the students that in this case we're utilizing the decryptor, which is basically an Examsoft decryptor package that they download, and again that they deploy in the exam file so that they can get the answers on the exam before the exam opens. So one thing that we did was to utilize ChatGPT to run their exam logs to see if they have hampered with the exam before, or the encrypted exam before taking the quiz, or sorry, in this case, taking the exam. And ChatGPT actually gave us the exact lines of code that show that, of course, that in this case the package have been decrypted before they open the exam using the Exemplify tool. This would have not been possible without the help of AI, because if you have seen the log that it creates once the students complete the exam, I'm talking about thousands of lines of code that are just listed, right? And some of those, if you're not familiarized really with a lot of that code or programming language, you will never catch that. What that's telling you is that the package was encrypted before it was even launched. Well, what we did exactly was to take all of that log, which is basically the access log, and we put it in Word. And we took all of that and we uploaded the Word file into ChatGPT and asked what instances or based. We know we literally prompted it like this. We know students are using an exam decryptor listed here in this URL to get the answers from Exemplify or from Examsoft ahead of time of the exam. We want to. This is one of the logs of the students that we believe utilized, these tool to get the answers ahead of time. Go through all the lines of code and identify what lines of code show that a student actually did this, and it basically lists the lines of code that shows like exam decrypted, yes, and it shows you the date. So if it wasn't the date of the exam, you know that it was before, and then we caught the students like that. In this case, I mean that's how we caught the students. But in this case, I should say that this is not the best example, because in this case it sounds like we are just catching using AI to catch students, and kind of policing them. But it was a way in which really AI help us, in this case, counter, act, against another AI tool that was created to cheat, right? So while it's not an scalable, if you will, solution, it is something that we're doing currently to, again, let the students know, like, hey, we are now able to do this. So don't try to use the decoder, because now we know that this is an example. We can run these reports and catch you. So it's kind of like, again, it's not the best solution, but again, the students now are aware that we're able to do this. So
no, I don't want to. I definitely point well taken, and I think it does show how AI can be helpful to help with reducing and/or you can't eliminate necessarily academic misconduct, but reduce the academic misconduct because it can be known that this capability is out there. And speaking of learning science, there is the one of the big four is behaviorism. So we know we have behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, connectivism, and this is a way to not reinforce, positive and negative reinforcement. So this can actually deter learners. So it is a form of deterring, and it is showing the power that it can do. And I look at it we're talking about quality assurance, which involves quality, also quality control and monitoring. So it's a way to monitor, and it may help keep the environment from there being much more of I would say proclivity or a thought to do these type of things. So I think that has its place. I think in learning environments, there's two folds. I talk about environments being a learning space. So it's twofold. You want to make sure that environments are resourced enough to where the learners don't feel the need or feel that there's deficiencies where they need to cheat. But you also do want to have monitors and things in place so that we can know that there are some safeguards in place to monitor and that there are some elements of quality. Ms. Nelson, are there any final words that you want to give on just AI in general and learning design? Or do you want to speak to the ethics aspect? So whatever your final words are as we wrap up the conversation.
Sure. When it comes to AI, we definitely want to consider ethics. We want to consider how we're using it, and even the impact that it can have, on learner experience. So, of course, transparency and being aware of data privacy, all of those things are very, very important. I think where I would close is that AI is a game changer in our field. The way for us to be able to be uh, in step with this shift is to stay adaptable. As learning experience designers, we will continuously need to learn new tools and integrate them into our work. And we would also want to make sure that we are, working with AI, being a partner with AI. In terms of we will eventually be curators, facilitators of this technology. So I think that it's just important to recognize that it's here and make space for it in the role that we are in.
Thank you so much. This has been very rich conversation. Thank you both for joining DOL Pod. And I'm very thankful. So again, we are donning Dr. Hernandez a little early, but Dr. Hernandez from DUville University, we thank you for being here. You share so many great insights. You all are doing some great things. We might need to try to make a trip to see some of these things. They're happening at DUville University. And Ms. Nelson, such great sound information and advice coming from your unit and great work that you're doing in your unit and the Unit of Learning Design and Quality Assurance here at Howard University. So thank you both. And then thank all our listeners who tuned in. We hope that something or some things that were said today will be helpful as we all go on this journey of the intersections of AI and online learning. Thank you all.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Shameless plug. Last minute for a shameless plug or no, Maurice?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so last 10 seconds of our shameless plug. We do have an AI in higher education podcast by DUville University. It is on Spotify. We have listeners from 35 different countries. So if you are interested in learning more about what we also be talking about, we are right there. So we would love to hear your thoughts. We have audience from, as I said, all over the country and all over the place. And we have currently, if I'm not mistaken, 30 different episodes. And if you want to learn more about everything that we're doing here at DUville University, that's a great place to also listen and learn a little bit more about what we're doing. So shameless plug, last minute.
No problem at all. And we'll make sure to right under this video to provide a link to where people can access your podcast. So thank you for sharing that, actually. Thank you for doing that. So anyone wants to take a deeper dive, you certainly can do so by checking out the podcast for, what is the name of it again?
It's AI in Higher Education by DeVal University.
AI in Higher Education by DeVal University. We want to definitely, that's another resource where you can do a deep dive and listen to the episode. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Awesome.
And so with that, we're going to let you all, our listening audience, go. You all have a great rest of your day. And thank you for tuning in.